We're
Hello.
Hi. We're back with Sharon Maas. Sharon, you go about to read an excerpt for us.
Yeah, I haven't got the print book because it hasn't been published yet. It's coming out on the 1st of October.
Okay.
But I have it on my iPad. Let me just open that. This is the cover. Can you see it? No.
Yes.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. Oh, just a minute. Sorry. There it is. Oh,
There you go.
it's got a little message here in the middle. Never mind. Okay.
You have a website where they can see this property too, right?
Actually, yes.
You
So
put it,
actually, it's the cover. I think the cover is beautiful.
Sharon, could you show it to us one more time, please?
Sorry.
Can you show it to us one more time?
Can you see it? Oh, it's gone off.
There you go. The Secret
Yeah.
Life of Winnie Cox.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll read a little bit of an excerpt from that. Let me just find it. Okay. Well, excuse me, I'm just looking for it. I did bookmark it, but I've lost the bookmark.
Take your time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just tell you what this is about. She, as I said, she was growing up in this beautiful plantation in the European quarters, and she has no idea of the life of the plantation workers, the Indians who work the fields, and she has no idea. They're just like part of the landscape. They're not really people for her. And then she and her sister, her younger sister, they venture out one day and they come to the quarters where the Indians live. And so I'm going to read from what happens when she sees where they're living, the quarters. It was a city set in mud. The houses, if you could call them that, were ramshackle, windowless shacks that seemed held together with nothing more than luck. They were made of no recognizable building materials, though here and there a wooden plank was to be seen, or a broken sheet of corrugated iron for a roof. Mostly they were made of coconut palms and rice sacks, pieces of tarpaulin or canvas, crumbling mud bricks, bits and pieces haphazardly fitted together to do no more than provide a rudimentary protection from sun and rain. Two raggedy lines of such shacks stretched away before our eyes along a narrow lane of oozing black slush, and several more such lines lay to our left and right. On either side of the lane ran two ditches, overflowing with some kind of sickening black ooze. Over the entire area hung that abominable stench that had assaulted my nostrils some time back, and had now grown so strong as to be unbearable. I still held the handkerchief to my nose. The sight had distracted me from the stench for a while, but now I realized just how ghastly it was. A melange of offal and excretion and rotting flesh, and various other unidentifiable but equally nauseating odors. And the flies! Oh, the flies! Swarms of them, nestled on the ground, flies whirring around the eyes of small children and the sores on dogs' backs. Perhaps they gorged on stench. It was, quite simply, horrendous. To think of Nanny, our beloved Nanny, living within this abomination. It was unbearable. Did Papa know she lived here? Had he sent her away, knowing she would move here? Had he knowingly thrown her into a pigsty? So that's just a very short excerpt.
Thank you.
And it continues from there. What happens next is that she meets this guy. His name is George. And he's black, and they fall in love, and you can imagine the complications that brings. So
Yeah.
and that is why it's the secret life of the title. That's what she goes into. She has a secret life, and she identifies and she cares about the the woes of these people, of the Indians and of the blacks and of the workers, and she takes their side against her father. And she has to do it secretly at first. In fact, she does it secretly. She's practically a spy in her father's house, and she's carrying on this. It wasn't a love affair because there was nothing physical. She just only saw him now and again, but it was a very intense. It is a very intense love she had for this young man, and it was mutual, of course. She runs away from home, and she doesn't work out. She comes back, and she just keeps this whole thing secret for 2 years, and then it all comes to a head, and that's when the story actually comes to its climax.
What was the reaction when you took this to a publisher?
Well, I already had a publisher who had published A Marriageable Age again, and who had published another book of mine. The middle book with them is The Small Fortune of Dorothea Q. He had published that, so he was very open to me, and he loved my writing and I loved my books. So it was no problem getting that accepted. Mm-hmm. And my publisher that I have now, they're very, very, very supportive. Mm-hmm. And I really am happy to be with them.
But Sharon, 1910, the period backdrop of this story, what sort of challenges, if there were any, you had in keeping the nuances of that period authentic?
Well, of course, it's the biggest problem is that I don't know anybody who lived then. You know, it's the problem is research. Uh-huh. I have to read other books and read books about the period, and I have to talk to people who are older and who might remember, who might have an idea of, or historians who might have an idea of what went on in that period. And yes, I just have to sort of like do the best I can given the circumstances.
Did you ever get stuck? You were saying about reading and doing your research.
Yeah, well, you just have to fill in the gaps with imagination. Really, you have to think of what it would have been, what it might have been, and I've read books set in that period, in England or in America. So you just what you know from your own experiences and what you think it could have been, and you do your best. You know.
Is there a story? Is there a story you're craving to tell?
Well, I want to finish. This book is the first in a trilogy. It continues.
Oh, okay.
2 more books to come, and I have to write these 2 more books. So that's the next step.
Which of your books have you ever used your own life as the narrative for one of your main characters?
I think A Marriageable Age.
Oh. Yeah,
definitely. And Dorothea Q also has a bit of my life. That's more my internal life. But A Marriageable Age is quite a lot. I think these 2 books, the 2 books that came before this one, they have a lot of my biography mixed into it.
What drives you so much as a writer?
What?
Why are you so right? What drives you so much as a writer?
The need to get the story out. It's as if the story has to come out, you know, and I just have to keep at it. I actually don't like the actual act of writing, but but the story just has to come out, you know, and I just have to sit myself down and just write it, and sometimes it's an effort because I'd rather do other things than write. Actually, the physical act of writing.
I understand, and you are a social worker. I understand. How was that informed the way you write, or your writing on the whole?
I didn't quite get the first part of
your as a social worker. How does that inform the way you write, or inform your write, if it does inform your writing in any way?
It doesn't at all. It's quite a different life actually. It's quite different.
So what is a typical day in the life of Sharon Maas as a writer?
Well, I have my alarm set for 4:30. It's been that way for many years now.
Oh my God.
I get up and start writing. And I write for 1.5 hours usually. I think it'll be 2 hours in future. Now it's 1.5 hours because I've been revising books. I haven't written anything new for a couple of years. So I've been revising books. 1.5 hours every morning. At 6 o'clock I stop, get up and have my breakfast, get ready for the day, have my shower and everything. And I leave home at 6:45, around that time. I have quite a long commute to work, 40 minutes to work, driving, and then work begins at around 7:30, and I work through to about 2 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock, depending, and come home.
Sharon, take us on a trip to India, sorry. You lived in India. What was that like? Or how would you compare the two cultures, Guyana and India? What about India reminded you of Guyana, and vice versa?
Well, the food for a start. I mean, rice and curry, and although when I go to South India, so it's a bit different to Guyanese curry there. But when I was a teenager, my best friend, she was Hindu, and I got quite a lot of her culture from going to her sister's wedding or her mother's funeral, and just knowing that she was a Hindu, and kind of fascinated me, and I got into that kind of that culture a little bit, even long before I went to India. Mm-hmm. So I knew a little bit. And of course, growing up in Guyana, you have Indian culture. You celebrate Diwali and Phagwa and all that. So I had a bit of an Indian background. But as a teenager, my parents were both strongly atheist, and I was actually raised to be an atheist by my father especially. But and I mean, so I knew all the arguments and I accepted them for most of my teenage life. But I had, I wasn't satisfied emotionally. I mean, atheism has all the answers intellectually.
Right.
But I was emotionally, I wasn't satisfied. I was empty. I was really hungry. I was really hungry for something more. Atheism just couldn't satisfy me. It wasn't fulfilling. And I had a Christian background in school because I went to Christian school, so I knew all about Christianity, and I loved it actually. When I went to England, that was a very Christian school, and that fulfilled me emotionally, but it didn't fulfill me intellectually. So I had this discrepancy. I mean, atheism didn't fulfill me emotionally, and Christianity didn't fulfill me intellectually. I couldn't accept the teachings of Christianity with heaven and hell and being good so you go to heaven and the virgin birth and all these things. It didn't really ring true for me. Mm-hmm. So when I found Hinduism has a lot of different nuances. It has something for everyone. And I found their teaching that satisfied me in every single way, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually, most of all.
Wow. How has India changed you as a woman?
Completely. It began when I was a teenager in Guyana, and because of this emotional emptiness that I had as a teenager. I had no confidence. I wasn't successful with boys. They didn't like me. I thought I was very ugly, and I got very fat. I would eat to compensate for my unhappiness, and I got very fat. And of course, that made everything worse. It was like a vicious circle. I was getting fat, and I was unhappy, and eating, and all that. And then I got this job at the Chronicle, where I would interview people who came to Guyana, and I interviewed a lady from Switzerland who came from a yoga school in Switzerland, and she talked about yoga. And the moment she talked about yoga, I was hooked. I mean, I was totally hooked on this yoga. And I went to yoga classes in Guyana. It was Mr. Prasad, who she was staying with. He gave yoga classes. I went to a yoga class, and I came out of that class walking on air. I mean, it was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. I was light, I was happy, I was joyful on air. So I began doing yoga, And within a couple of weeks, I had lost all the excess weight I had. I wasn't fat anymore. I stopped smoking. I stopped drinking. All these things that were, that I was trying to getting into to compensate for my unhappiness. They all just like fell off me, like just like an empty skin. It was really amazing. And so that was the beginning of my path to India, really.
So what would you say are people surprised to learn about you when they get to know you?
Lots of things. I keep a lot of things. I don't talk about much of the things that are important to me. I don't talk very much about India or about my life there, my life in an ashram. And I think that would surprise people if they knew that I really do seriously meditate when I go there. And it's they probably think it sounds very boring. It sounds very really, really empty, but it's very, very fulfilling. And I think they wouldn't understand it, most people probably, but it is a very important part of my life.
Every morning? Do you meditate every day?
I meditate every day. I meditate as often as I can. I don't have any long stretches of meditation anymore as I used to, because sort of after a few years, it sort of settles into you that you can turn to it anytime of the day, and it's like constant. It's like a constant sense of presence always. So and if I want to sit, I can sit. I can take time off between other tasks and meditate, or not. And it's still there. So it's.
What do you know? What do you know now about writing that you wish you knew when you first started writing professionally?
Oh gosh, that's hard to say. I wish I had known it would take so long to get published again. I think I might have. If I had known it would take so long, I would probably have accepted HarperCollins' conditions for writing a new book. But now I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I took that hard course of giving it up and going on my own.
Any regrets?
No.
Not
anymore. For a long time, I thought, oh gosh, I was such an idiot to do that. But I don't have any regrets now.
And for those days when you don't feel like getting up and doing what you need to do, who or what gets you up?
I don't have those days.
That's nice.
I really don't. I'm not. I would hate to stay in bed. I'm really up the first thing, and I can. I don't like staying in bed if it's in the morning.
What would you say is one of the biggest or the biggest misconceptions people have about writing a novel?
Oh, that's hard to say. I really don't know. I think most people think that you write, you only write you only write your own stories all the time, but that's not true. I mean, I might take elements from my real life, but I don't write stories. I don't write things that I know. I don't write, reproduce things that I know. I make them up. I really do make them up myself.
You can take me out of Guyana, but you cannot take Guyana out of me.
That's right.
How does that resonate with you?
Well, when I was young, like many young people, I had this great sense of adventure, having to leave Guyana, having to go abroad. And many of us do go abroad. I mean, Guyana has a huge population outside Guyana, because people just leave. They think Guyana is too small and too boring for them, and they want a new life. So I was one of those who left. And for many years, I didn't think about Guyana. I thought, okay, it's behind me. I'll never go back. But more and more over the last few years, I've gone back, and the love that I had, the love that was in me as a child, it's come back. I really feel very, very close to the country. I really feel I need to, I'm writing actually for Guyana in a way, to bring Guyana, to make people realize this is a wonderful little country. You don't know it, but it's wonderful. And for people who are from Guyana and who haven't gone back, to remind them of their homeland. And maybe they have children who haven't gone back, who haven't been there ever, and say, well, look, this is a really lovely little country. It's small, it's insignificant in world matters, and it's got a lot of problems right now. It's got huge problems right now, but it's still a wonderful place.
You're planning to go back to live?
I'm planning to go back. I am, yes.
Wow. What's next for you, Sharon?
Well, next for me is to write 2 more books.
2 more.
2 more books. 2 more novels I've got to write, and I think those will be the last ones I write.
If you were to eavesdrop your parents telling a stranger about you.
Sorry, I didn't get the first.
If you were to eavesdrop your parents telling a stranger about you, what would either of them say?
What my parents would say to a stranger?
Yes, about you.
Oh, well, we had this daughter who didn't obey us. who went crazy when she was a teenager, and who dropped out and who did all these crazy things that we didn't approve of, but who finally wrote some pretty good books.
Oh, wonderful. When are you most happy?
When I'm most happy is actually when I'm in India.
India?
Yes.
What is it that India has for you, Sharon?
It has. It brings me back to myself completely. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was just going on raving about Guyana, but I think it's just not India as a whole. I mean, there are many different parts of India. There are many different aspects to India, and most people think of the worst. When they think of India, they think of, of poverty and big cities and flies and horrible things. But I go to one place in India. It's an ashram, and that's the place where I mostly feel the joy that is within me.
Yeah.
And that's where I come back to myself.
What is most gratifying about being Sharon Maas?
Oh, I wouldn't say it's gratifying, but I'm really growing every day a little bit stronger. I think a little bit more into myself, into who I'm really supposed to be. Uh-huh. I'm not finished yet. I've got a long way to go still.
A work in progress?
Sorry?
A work in progress?
I'm a work in progress, absolutely. I mean, I've got a long way to go. I think it's just beginning, really.
What are you most proud of?
Most proud of?
Uh-huh.
Oh, gosh. Well, I wouldn't call it proud, but I'm glad I wrote these books. Uh-huh. I really like to have written them, and I think it's something that it will live on after you. I think there'll be probably, have descendants who will say, well, we had a grandmother, or we had a great-grandmother who wrote these books. Look at these books my great-grandmother wrote. I think that's something nice, even though I won't be there, just to think of that,
Finish a sentence for us. I look forward to Sunday evenings too.
Yeah? Sorry?
Finish the sentence for us. I look forward to Sunday evenings too.
Sunday evenings.
Yeah.
Sunday evenings are. I live a very, very boring life. So Sunday evenings, I just either watch TV or watch a movie or read a book.
Hey, that's fine. Many of us do that. What are you most thankful for?
The sound isn't very good. What did you say?
Sorry about that. What are you most thankful for?
It's breaking up. The sound is breaking up. I'm not quite sure what you said.
All right. Let me see if I can fix this. Now, what are you most thankful for?
Oh, I'm thankful for life itself. Uh-huh. I'm thankful that I found the things that have made my life so rewarding, and I really am thankful for having the gift of writing. I think it's a gift.
Yes.
For that.
If you could go back in time, what would you tell your 15-year-old self?
I tell her that you don't have to make this huge detour. You can just go straight to the jugular. You don't have to do all these crazy things. It's quite simple, really.
When you're writing,
hello.
When you're writing, and if you get stuck, what happens next? What do you do?
I close my eyes. I bring my mind back to turn it inwards, go down to the source. I think there's a source of creativity within, in the soul, in the spirit, in the mind. And I think that's where all creativity comes from, whether it's art or music or writing or stories. I take my mind back to that place and say, okay, get nourished here and come back. And then it usually works out. Usually it goes on after that.
I like that. I want to go to the chat room. There are some questions here for you, Sharon.
Okay, how do I get to the chat room?
No, I'm going to read it to you.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Faye asked, how often do you write these days?
Well, there are different times of different, like there are times when I'm writing a new book. If I'm writing a new book, I would write every single day. Every single day without a gap. Saturdays, Sundays, every day 4:30 to 6 or 6:30, depending on the day. Every single day if I'm writing a book. If I'm revising a book, which is a book already written, but I have to go through it to get it in order, I would write every day, maybe not at the weekend, but it's not as urgent to write every day at that point. Right now, I'm neither writing a new book nor revising. I'm going to start a new book in October. So I've got a little bit of a holiday right now. So I'm not writing right now. But I still get up at the same time because I want to keep that rhythm.
4:30 to 6:30. Wow.
So I still get up. I still wake up and get out of bed, and but usually I just I write some articles sometimes. This morning I wrote an article, and or I write a letter to someone, or I do things that need to be done.
I see.
I just read,
And Faye asks again, what advice can you give a young aspiring writer who wants to write novels?
Oh dear. Trust in the story. Really, try to find out where the story is and trust it. It is there. Everything that you've ever done, everything you've ever learned in your life, it all comes together to make stories within you. It's deep within you. The stories are made deep within you in your subconscious. And you have to access that. And it's there. Trust it and try to get to that and bring it out.
Jen asked, how many books have you written and published?
I've written, let me see, I've written 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it's 7. I've published 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've published 5. Yeah, that makes sense. 5 I've published and 2 are unpublished still.
And where can one purchase your books, Jen, again?
Well, 2 of them are out of print. 3 of them are available on Amazon or other ebook sellers. There are ebooks first of all. They are available as on print on demand, which is it is not the same as the usual print. The books are printed on demand. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
And they are available to get if you go to a bookshop. They'll order it for you. All of my books, all of the 3 that are in publication right now.
And Paul asked, what is it like living in Germany?
I think Germany is a great place to live. I've lived here for 40 years,
Wow.
And so the first couple of years were very, very difficult for me because I was a foreigner, and back then Germany was different. It's changed a lot, and life is very good. I think you can really say people in general. I mean, people like say middle class people. I mean, of course, there are poor people as well. And at the moment, we have all these refugees coming, which I think is great. I'm great that they're taking all these refugees. But I've learned so much from living in Germany. Once I stopped criticizing Germany because I thought, oh, Germans, they're so precise and they're so uptight and they're so demanding and they're so perfectionists. And I'm the very opposite of that. But after a while, I began to stop criticizing and just learn from this very German attitude. And since I've been doing that, I've accepted it, and I feel very, very accepted here. I live in a very nice place, a small village, and I've friends with my neighbors, beautiful people, all of them. and my colleagues are great. I mean, I can really say I've got absolutely no complaint living in Germany right now.
Wonderful. Well,
Absolutely no.
Sharon,
And
the last.
I'm very fortunate, I would say. And it's, I mean, it's really like, I'm very lucky to have found this, found this second home away from home. But it's still not
Yeah.
my home.
Not Guyana. Last
Yeah.
question I ask all my guests: what makes you laugh out loud?
If I see, well, what makes you laugh out loud? Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret. I just love watching YouTube videos of silly animals, puppies and kittens doing silly things, or children doing silly things. That makes me laugh out loud.
Oh gosh, Sharon, this has been a very wonderful conversation. Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
so
thank
much.
you.
And best of luck and success, sorry,
Oh,
with
thank
your
you.
book.
Thank you very
Yes.
much, Selwyn. And thank you for inviting me. It's been lovely being with you tonight.
You're welcome. Please let us know when the book comes out.